right now. I hope everyone is ready. So doing it in reverse order. Do we have our moderator here today? Yes, I see him. Let's welcome him on the stage. He will lead the panel discussion afterwards. A technology adaptation expert in AI and sustainability enthusiast, Mr. Arvils Kupris. Let's welcome him. Welcome, Arvils. I'm not good with handshake today, sorry. Joining him is the highly skilled head of AI at Riga Stradiņš University, Ms. Agate Ambulte. Welcome. Happy to see you, Agate. Welcome on our Deep Tech stage. Next up, he's the Director of Engineering at Stealth and Lecturer of Data Science at New York University. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gaëtan Brison. Welcome, Gaëtan. Happy to see you in our midst. Next up, the section head of the development of EU projects and initiatives at the European Organization for Nuclear Research, known as CERN, Mr. Pablo Garcia Tello. Welcome, Pablo. Joining us from the technology juggernaut, Meta, its regional policy lead, Ms. Vitnija Saldava. Welcome, Vitnija. And lastly, joining us on the stage also for his opening keynote, the Deputy State Secretary on Digital Transformation at the Ministry of Smart Administration and Regional Development, Mr. Gatis Ozols. Welcome, Gatis. Take it away.
Okay, can you hear me? Great. Good day, everyone. Nice to be here. Pleased to be here. Oh, in 10 minutes, I have a challenge to provide the perspective why I think that trust is or could be Europe's competitive edge, and how Latvia's National AI Center will help to turn that principle into the practice. And then afterwards, we'll look into the debate also on the panel on this topic. Before speaking about the center, I want to dive a little bit in the context. AI, especially Gen AI, in the last years have grown rapidly, and I will want to explain with the stats and graphs how it became even more powerful tool as it was some year or two ago. AI capability is growing even faster than the Moore's law. Moore's law, it was like in the 2 years now, it's the capabilities of AI agents is doubling every roughly 6 months. LLMs are becoming cheaper, they are becoming more potent, and also globally people are experiencing that AI is benefiting and they will result a range of benefits for them. And also, if we look nationally, there was some screenshots you could see, even though benchmarks of adoption of AI for Latvian small, medium, or micro enterprises is a little bit behind of Europe's average adoption of AI. We see that Latvian AI industry and academia are doing an excellent job in AI sphere, developing different tools and services like a stroke and cancer diagnostics, traffic safety, manufacturing quality monitoring, even real estate domains applications. And also in government sector, we have like government virtual agents network, and also EU language model is developed by Latvian scientists. So we benefit from AI, and it delivers, and applications are growing and growing. But we can see on the other hand, what you can see, according to the latest Stanford AI index, AI-related incidents have dropped in the last year for 56%. If we look at MIT's AI incident register, we can see that in 4 years it has grown 4 times incident registers such as privacy, misinformation, safety, malicious actors, and so on. And now at the moment, which you can see maybe in the middle slide, in the middle graph, is that people have now mixed emotions. On the one hand, they are excited about the possibilities of AI. On the second, the worries also prevail, and we see that people are becoming more worried about different consequences and effects of AI, a trust of AI. So it seems like a honeymoon over for AI is over. Honeymoon for the AI is over, and now we start to experience limitations, we start to experience downsides, and we start to value. And I believe that and also it has a result now. You see in the last one, the 70% opinion, the people are demanding stronger AI oversight from the public sector as well. So we can see that people are demanding more trusted, and it has become an argument for citizens how to use or how to choose the AI applications they are using. So how countries are responding? Broadly, there are three models that are usually depicted, the European, the US, and the China model, but I will cover the two at once. The most popular saying is that EU is regulating, US is innovating, but what we can see from the real life is that in EU, yes, we have AI Act. It's like a single value-based rule book that sets the risk-based approach for the AI applications. The critical ones you have to like ex-ante evaluation have, and then you have the monitoring and conformity for high-risk applications, and then for lower risk it's like less strict rules. And then in the US is different, but still it's not like there's no regulation. We can see there is like a patchwork of regulations in each state, in different organizations. You have different kind of regulations. There are currently 131 state laws and 59 agency level rules that are decentralized and powerful. But if we look at the tendency, we can see that the number of regulation also in the US is growing. So what we can see that trust and safety is becoming a more essential argument to decide on the use of AI or which AI to prefer for the citizen. For smaller countries in the EU, like Latvia, other countries, most of the countries, it could be a challenging and daunting task how to navigate between those regulations and how to innovate, how to find the sweet spot between the regulation and the innovation. I believe small countries have two levers, the main two levers: agility, to pilot fast, to fail fast, and to adjust regulation fast, so if it's necessary. And also the other benefit, the lever which you can use, is the close proximity of ecosystem participants. So you can easily call the company to have a feedback on the regulation. You can gather together like academia and the NGOs and so on, and you can work together on the finding out which kind of regulations have to be adjusted if it's hard for companies to proceed. In such cases, it's essential to bring those ecosystems together, and this was the thing that we did in Latvia. Actually, it was initiated by the president of Latvia, which stated and established the idea and the concept of making the National AI Center, which would bring together all ecosystem participants, universities, which bring in the research, the expertise, the industries that implements and is able to scale, and also the government, which is creating favorable preconditions, such as giving the data, access to the data, smoothing regulation, and also generating demand. So we united university, academia, and government and formed this unique partnership as National AI Center. From the early beginnings, there are two main vectors which are tied into the DNA of the National AI Center. It's innovation and competitiveness, and the second one is trusted AI and protection of fundamental rights of society and democracy, because of those two before mentioned tendencies. For example, in Latvia, as you maybe know, that now we are in the pre-election period, and we have special regulation on how that regulates the deepfake, yes, thank you. Deepfake in pre-election period. So you can have a criminal court if you are using the deepfake for the candidate that's candidating in, for example, municipal elections. So you need some competence to validate this. In details, what Artificial Intelligence Center is focusing on is promoting a adoption for competitiveness and public good in strategic sectors, such as defense sector, health sector, education sector, and public sector, analyze and mitigate social risks, pre-election period, as already mentioned, in partnership with universities, provide AI sandbox service in partnership with regulators, and also take care of Latvian language and culture in AI. One part of the AI Center is providing the sandbox service A lot of sandboxing options are available in other countries, but because of the special regulation that was made for this AI center, it was like a special law. So in this law, there's foreseen that the center will have additional, less bureaucratic powers when providing sandbox services to the companies, such as access to government data, anonymized, of course, data through secure data processing environments. It might include also suspension of some of the regulations while testing one or other tool. So my goal is to cut the compliance costs for the companies which are coming into the market and guarantee societies that these innovations are safe. So where are we now with the National AI Center? The law is accepted in March. Now the AI Center is established in April, and now currently the competition for the director of the center is in a process. And our goal for this year is to start to make it operational and to start the first projects, and also to initiate and make operational also the sandbox function of the center. So this is also just one of the part of the different initiatives as from the government and public sector side we are executing to turn the AI vision into the practice at the moment. And to conclude, I believe I will start with the beginning. The trust is becoming a decisive advantage in artificial intelligence, and it can become a competitive edge, but it's essential to find the right balance between innovation and regulation. And I believe that only by working together, by bringing the industry together, academia together, and public sector together, to having the feedback, we can achieve this sweet spot. So looking forward for interesting discussion, also the panel. Thank you.
So thank you, Gatis, for the exciting news, I would say. You told it like, yeah, the regular thing, but I know that you have been working on that for over the year. And I see that you are already preparing the market for a big leap. And honestly speaking, you can see more and more activities and discussions in a public space about AI in public services, in everyday life, and should you do this, should you do that. You can hear more and more skeptics around as well that signals that we are nearing some reality check. And your plans highlight that we are about to do something. To be sure that we do the right thing, it's important to mention that we are in the European Union, and it's not only about EU Act, but it's also about the potential for collaboration, building trust, and actually using that as a competitive advantage globally. Because otherwise, separately in European Union, we are small, together we are big. How Latvia comes in that picture is important for me personally, and that's how we today are joined by 5 exceptional panelists that can cover various perspectives that will be important doing work, not only planning that ahead. So we have Gatis Ozols, Agate Ambute from RSU, Gaetan Riston, Pablo Garcia-Tello, and Vitnie Saldava. So I will start with the opening question, the simple one for Gatis. What do you see is the biggest challenge right now? You have good plans and you have good intentions. So what is the biggest challenge for Latvia in implementing AI strategy? And where do you see the biggest gap between reality and our dreams and hopes?
Yeah, I think there's not such one thing. There are several things, and some things are common to all European countries, and maybe not only European. The first one is like the talent, accessibility, availability of the talent. We made a survey of our entrepreneurs during the development of our national plan for digitalization, and 60% of the companies reported hard to fill IT vacancies. So they cannot fill the IT vacancies, so the lack of IT vacancies. Of course, this is the professional side. Then when we look on the general adoption of IT, ICT, digital technologies in small, medium enterprises, it's like a second also, not the high level, but the middle and the low level IT skills. It's a second challenge because of a lot of micro enterprises that we are having. So, but now we are looking forward that, for example, in comparison with the previous year, adoption rate of AI doubled. So we see there is a progress. The second is R&D investments. If you are asking about the biggest gap, it's R&D investments in comparison to GDP. So I think it was good to hear in the morning that the Minister of Economics said that there are new instruments coming and be available for the company. So I think it will make some adjustments in this. And the third one, it's very connected with the argument you mentioned about the regulation coming from EU, is that all this regulation is setting a new governance mechanism. So you have to set a new governance mechanisms into the government, or which institutions will be responsible for what, how we will govern AI, how we will monitor, and so on. So the coordination and setting up the fragmentation is I think the third biggest challenge at the moment.
Oh, yeah, thank you. So actually taking that point on the talent, I will turn to Agate as you're representing academia. Can you share, and I know that there are good examples of what has been done already, some good things to promote development of the new talent, and maybe you can also elaborate more on the gaps and challenges that we still have, and what can allow us to develop sufficient talent.
Okay, so from Riga Stradiņš University side, I think we're approaching it head on, and we're excited about the technology, and we're excited on where it can take us. But I think that our position is realistic, since we understand the risks. So the first thing that we did was create guidelines, AI guidelines. What is allowed, what's not allowed, when do we use it? And the stance for Riga Stradiņš University is that we're going to use it, we're going to use AI, but we're going to do it in an ethical and transparent way. So we're approaching it in such fashion. So practically, what does that mean? We've created, first thing that we created, study program. A study program where you can learn AI. So first level was a course where all of the students, so the goal is to not let anyone out without understanding AI tools. But that's in progress. So right now, around 100 students are actively studying AI. Okay, so the next step, what we did during the last year was we created a whole new study program, which will be officially launched next week, May 21st. And it will be for high-level leaders. So leaders who know that they will have to work with data, with technologies, and they want to strategically implement AI. I see this as a gap in IT education in Latvia for leaders. So we're going to provide that. And for me personally, I managed the first AI talent program in Latvia where we head-on approach the lack of specialists. We need developers, and we need leaders who can manage those developers and guide organizations towards development. So I see those as the first steps, but actually, after the guidelines and before the teaching and during all those phases, actually, risk management is a big thought that we keep within ourselves, that we need to always keep an eye on that. As well, also clearing misunderstanding, clearing people who don't understand the technology. We need basic knowledge, then we need practical knowledge, and of course we need developers and leaders who can manage this all. So that's how we're looking at it right now.
Wow, cool. It's actually interesting to see that sometimes when you talk about EU Act, everyone considers the human-centric approach and stuff like that as limits or some constraints. But what I hear from what you are saying, without that, there is no clear framework, and that kind of gives you ability to make a good, solid framework to build on. So that's interesting to see that there is a good value in some aspects of EU Act. Great. Maybe let's switch slightly to the research. Keton, maybe you can share some great examples of success already, because there is a lot of hype, a lot of buzz, and maybe you also can share across Europe what you have seen. What is that gap to collaborate, to build together?
Yes, clearly. So I can speak about my personal experience. So I worked for the last 4 years at Institut Polytechnique de Paris. It was like we succeeded to make this center a big center. So the center is called iParis, and it's in collaboration with Institut Polytechnique de Paris, INRIA, and HEC Paris. And the success was first the fact that we didn't receive any public funds. And it was the only center in France that was not financed by Emmanuel Macron at first. So there was kind of this survival mode in the center. So we found like some top French company to sponsor the center. Then we're pretty lucky to have like 200 researchers in what we call Plateau de Saclay on natural language processing, computer vision, and plenty of other topics that helped us a lot. And then we created what we call an engineering team there to be able to close the gap between research and production. So we have hired a lot of engineers from private sectors, from Amazon, from Thales, basically to accelerate research, to be able to deploy research. And by doing so, we were also able to attract, for example, startups, because we are providing open source code for them, and startup needs scientists, because they need to be like different. And scientists need data, so super combination. So what was the second part of the question? Sorry.
Yeah, the second part was about the gaps. What holds us back from collaboration and building together?
And so this enabled us basically to collaborate and to create synergies with the private sector. I think there are a lot of gaps, and maybe I can speak about 2 of them. First is the consumer need. So for example, all the LLMs that we have nowadays, it's not a new technology. Since 2017, there was this paper, Attention is All You Need, speaking about transformers that is like used nowadays, whether it's in NLP, computer vision, and other topics. So it took a lot of time to shift from research to production. And then it's also about the need in companies. So I think the needs are really different. So when we work in research, basically, we have open source benchmarks. So we use open source data, basically, to say if the method works well or not. And so we don't have access to data of companies. And so therefore, we need specialists within companies that are able to reverse engineer the solution made by researchers and apply them on a specific topic. And the definition of trustworthy AI is going to be different if, for example, you are working for customer service and creating a chatbot. You just want to make sure that basically your chatbot is not insulting your consumer. But if, for example, you are working on medical applications for cancer detection, working on transcript of patients, then the standards and the level of trustworthy AI is going to be quite different, I think.
Well, great, thank you. Now we have Pablo, and I know that you have interesting perspective that is absolutely needed, because at CERN you have first-hand witnessed many various technologies turn into everyday products, everyday results. What lessons can we learn from that? Talking about AI, let's call it a trend or hype, regardless, and what you can suggest to keep in mind besides those opportunities and gaps and stuff?
So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation and this fantastic event. And congratulations for the initiative in Latvia for the National AI Institute, which I think is a tremendous endeavor, and it comes very timely. I will try to explain myself why I think is the case. I will give you my 2 cents on this. First of all, I would say, let's keep an eye on, well, if I fear something is not AI, artificial intelligence, but human stupidity. I think we have a big tone of it nowadays. So let's try to to actually keep that in mind. On a second place, or a sort of corollary of this, I would say that somehow we are embedded in the belief that we have to rush into AI. And if it was like a zero-sum game, race, winner takes it all. The important is to do the things right, not to do the things first. And in that sense, I think we have to be very humble. We are far away from artificial intelligence. We have interesting tools, large language models, but we have to take a good perspective that we are far away from artificial intelligence. I'm not saying that what we have today cannot be a very interesting tool and probably generate very interesting business cases and applications and so on. But let's try to call the things properly. In particle physics, we use, before we qualify something as a discovery, we use a 5 sigma confidence level. And only then we declare that it's been a discovery. And a 5 sigma confidence level means that the probability that you have an error is 1 divided by, if I remember correctly, 4 million, something like this. So let's try to advance in a proper way in the world of this so-called AI. And last but not least, I see in many slides industry, research, business. Well, nobody has all the questions and nobody has all the answers. And there are many professionals and disciplines that have been working in the field of intelligence that I never see appearing in the slides. For example, and probably they know more about intelligence than the software or AI community. That is cognitive scientists, psychologists, paleontologists, anthropologists. They have been studying what is intelligence and how human intelligence have evolved over the years, biologists, brain scientists. And curiously speaking, they are never cited in these sort of ecosystems. And especially educate, but educate with consciousness, the young generations. Because in my humble view, the possible potential AI revolution has something different than other revolutions in technology that we have experienced in history. Let's take the revolution of agriculture. Yes, you are allowed to produce bigger amount of food, so it's a qualitative revolution. It has some. It's a quantitative revolution, but it has some qualitative change. Let's say the steam engine, mechanization. But the AI revolution has something that no other had in history. And it's a qualitative aspect because it deals with many attributes that touches us as human beings. It deals with the capacity of reasoning, with the capacity of critical thinking. So let's not rush into it like if we were headless chickens because of this mantra, US innovates, Europe regulates, or is a zero-sum game, or winner takes it all. And just try to keep some pace on it. And that's why I think in Latvia with this initiative, is very timely because now we are just kind of living the de-inflation part of the hype, or we are starting to it. But I think you have the opportunity to do things right, and in a different way, like it has been happening until now.
Yeah, Thank you for that perspective, because that actually gives more confidence rather than pessimism, because we finally talk about that not as a magic pill or magic beans, but we talk about productivity tools. And in productivity, there is no one tag. There is many things that you need to put in place. And I'm happy that Latvia takes that collaboration approach where both industry, academia, and private and public sector works together. And I thought for a long time what question to address to Vitnia, because you have this European and global view, and actually I ended up with one. From your perspective, how Central and Eastern European, let's say Latvia, can become a driver for AI innovation in EU? Is there such possibility, and are we on the right track?
Thank you. I think that's a great question. And you know, I was listening to everybody very intently, and you know, I heard things that I agree with. I agree with not rushing into things. Maybe we didn't mean the same thing about that, but let me tell you what, you know, in my job, I have a chance to go to different countries across Central and Eastern Europe and speak to different governments, speak to different businesses, speak to different societies. And what I'm seeing there, you know, and the reason why I'm doing that is I might be speaking to you today as a representative of Meta, you know, one of the big companies developing leading AI solutions, but our bread and butter today remain the businesses that are in Central and Eastern Europe, when I'm speaking about my region, but globally, businesses, small and medium-based businesses, startups, scale-ups, that pays our bills. So this is why these companies, the smaller companies, may not have the chance to go and speak on a stage and give their perspective. They may not have a chance to open doors to governments. We do. This is why we also feel the responsibility to speak for the industries, you know, when some of them, what we're seeing from my conversations, for example, on the AI Act, it's obvious that we're not prepared. You know, when I say we, I mean as Europe, I also mean as local industries. It seems that the AI Act is sort of approaching as a big, you know, and you know, the whole package of regulations is approaching as a train that it feels very hard to stop. But at the same time, I also think there is an opportunity. And the reason why we have to do that is not only is Europe not prepared for this, it's also really further fragmenting the single market. And as you said, this is one of the selling points of Europe, the fact that, you know, you should be able to open a business in Riga that then you can export your digital solutions across the EU. You know, this should be a benefit of being a European. But unfortunately, what we're seeing, even with the AI Act, Ireland is set to have 9 different regulators for the AI Act alone. You know, and if you're a startup or a scale-up in Europe, you know, to be able to then map all of that across the entire EU and see how do I comply with all of these regulations and these, you know, this whole blanket of regulators, it is very, very challenging. And it's also hindering the investment from abroad, you know. So I think if we are talking about innovation, this is an important thing, that actually the AI is still so developing that you know, any regulation that we're putting on now is already outdated. If you look at the AI Act, again, even the technical requirements for what constitutes a general purpose AI model, the FLOPS, this is already out of date. With the DeepSeek, with the arrival of DeepSeek, they wouldn't even qualify. But you know, that just proves to you that trying to regulate the technology while it's still developing so fast is the wrong approach, and we should really go back to the risk-based approach. And here, you know, really answering your question about what could Central Eastern Europe do, we could come together. You know, we could really form an alliance, because as I said, I'm seeing similar, you know, worries across a lot of countries, but sometimes in the European stage, we feel like we're alone. You know, oh, it's just Latvia, you know, what can we do? But actually, you can do a lot if you partner up with Estonia, with Poland, with other countries who are also thinking about how can this work for me, and, you know, not necessarily following the train of other countries in Europe that actually their economic drivers are from the old industry, so their primary interests are not aligned maybe sometimes with our region. So I think really we could definitely do more with alliance building.
Well,
Maybe I can just add, just also from government perspective, in the same lines. Recent example, AI diffusion rule that was, it has to be in force from today, but it was cancelled. And as I hear, it was largely cancelled because of the work done by Poland, by Baltic states, the ministers of foreign affairs. So if you bring together like and make the alliances, you can do a lot in Europe. Also, as a small countries, Nordic-Baltic kind of partnerships. We have very strong partnership with the Nordic countries, and it's good. Also, in a digital aspect, there is a cultural aspect how we approach digitalization in different parts in Europe. So it will be hard for Latvians, I think, to have like a same point of view with a France, maybe a German or UK, because a totally different the way how the society works in the digital. But the Nordic countries, we are the same aspect. So they formed partnerships as well.
Cool. Then continue giving us hope. I would say, can you share some good cross-border partnership examples in Europe, or maybe you have seen it somewhere else? Gatis and Whitney, I'm looking at you, both of you. Can you share some good examples of collaboration?
The one was just mentioned. It was okay. It was the specific case that AI chips caps. But then Nordic-Baltic cooperation on digitalization. Currently, Nordic-Baltic countries are also working on similar as we are speaking on the Latvian AI center. There's a Nordic and Baltic level AI center which would bring together Nordic-Baltic countries. The concept and the vision is to have Nordic-Baltic region as the most integrated region in the world. So, and there are not only the political kind of level of discussions, there are very practical programs with the backup of the money and the project, so we can practically work together, and we are executing also on digital identification, digital identity wallets. We have common projects, and probably and also in AI there will be.
Yeah. And if I can also add one, if we look forward, I presented some of these problem areas, but a very specific project, our own commissioner, Latvian Commissioner Dombrovskis, has been set with an agenda for a simplification omnibus. So I think that is a very specific project being led by somebody from our countries who's able to gather that coalition and call, for example, for just to put the AI Act on the omnibus, to see, consult more with the industries, consult more. There were the consultations done in 2023. But we are way past that stage now, and things have changed. I think we need to really pause the enforcement until it's on the omnibus.
Yeah, great, thank you. Agate, maybe you can share some good examples of partnership between universities within or across borders.
Well, what we're working on now is actually we're starting from the inside, and we're working on a program that will allow for university teachers, lecturers, staff, or administration even, collaborate with AI developers to create inner AI pilot projects. It will have financing, it will have available AI developers, so that's something that we're doing from the inside. Same approach we're approaching on the outside. We're looking forward for the AI center, which is being built, and the Riga Strategic University is one of the partners there. So we're actively seeking partnerships and hope to practically collaborate them through the AI center. So that's something that we're really looking forward to. Already we have, through creating the new study program, master's degree study program, it's called Digital Strategy in Artificial Intelligence Management. While building this study program, we've found collaborations in Estonia, in Spain, in the academic sector. Yeah. So we're going to be geared up and ready to create projects together with the AI Center in Latvia, with our collaboration partners in Poland, Estonia, I already mentioned, the other countries, and also inside. We see it as a two-way street.
Maybe with Paris.
Yes.
Yeah, potentially.
Potentially.
Right? Cool.
If they're in, we're in.
I know. Great, thank you. Gaetan, maybe we can slightly switch to other topics as time is flying. From research perspective, do you see that AI has taken it all? It's only AI that we are talking about and what we are researching, or is it more of a industrialization 2.0 situation where there's a time when a lot of tech matures?
That's a, a really good question. So I think first we can split when it comes to AI into two different streams. I think there is what we call like kind of short-term research. So how can we improve the benchmark? How can we improve like this next LLM with like increasing the context window or the parameters? And there is like fundamental research. So we are quite lucky in Paris. We have like great centers like the FAIR Center from Meta, but also like DeepMind, Qtai, Hugging Face that are working on that, and which is like long-term research, like how, for example, computer vision model can understand physics, and this is going to take a lot of time. Because if you look, for example, at Sora or VO2 from DeepMind, physics is okay when you look at the videos, but sometimes you have like movement that are a little bit weird, and so we are missing this embodiment of AI in, like, for example, robots and things like that. And at the end of the day, AI is nothing without the other industries. So AI is a lot of data. So we are trying to find new ways and new modalities of data because everything that was on the web is already in the training set. Then there is compute. So there is a lot of work that are going on, like for example in Spain, in France, in the UK, on quantum computing. Because if we have more power and we are able to improve that, we might be able to train better the models. And related to that, we need more energy. So there is a lot of work done by Oxford, Princeton, and recently by France with Tokamak to stabilize plasma for fusion. And so if we are able to advance in this field, this might help also AI. But I agree with you, there's a lot of, and also with Pablo, a lot of buzzword being mentioned. Everybody speaks about AI. It's kind of maybe a bubble on certain cases. But there are other cases that are really useful also for society and that we need to keep working on.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Talking about that buzzword, Pablo, I want to ask you, what do you think about this? Few years ago, there was a blockchain that was quite hyped. Then there was quantum computing very recently jumping in popularity and vanishing back. AI sticks with us for quite some time, and previously we have seen the same. What do you see? Is it a tech maturity thing, or is it something that we are up to, like AI really will deliver?
Well, I think it's very curious to see that we seem to need a sort of hype every 6 months. And I wonder why is that? I have my own theory, but I can only discuss it over a couple of beers. So, who is talking today about blockchain? Nobody. And during a long time, blockchain was to be the future of everything. Okay, no killing application for blockchain. Cryptocurrency is kind of a standby. But it helped in increasing a lot of shares and share value. Then we have quantum computing. And quantum computing, I think we are starting it, I say, in the same way that we start in Spain building the bridges. We start by the inauguration, and then eventually we build the bridge. You start talking about quantum supremacy. By the way, quantum supremacy is just basically nothing spectacular. And then you come back to the reality. So you start talking about the quantum internet before even having 1,000 qubits that are useful in any shape or form. And then you start And then you realize that, yeah, what is after the hype? Well, after the hype, it means that I have to invest several billions to actually build a realistic quantum computer that probably will be the size of this room and will need cryogenics in a level that is unimaginable. And now so the hype is kind of going down, and it's recovering in the sense of things that are working in the quantum world. What is working in the quantum world for interesting applications? Quantum sensors, quantum cryptography. This is really the most immediate future. And then you create the hype of AI. First of all, because you call it AI. Let's see how far it will go. Because one of the things that are appearing now is the law of diminishing returns. So for a next model of the next version of a large language model, you will spend more in training it, more money, for an improvement that is not necessarily breakthrough. I insist once more. Let's name things as they are and not as we want them to be. Because if not, we're missing an opportunity of doing things right and avoid a zero-sum game of winner takes it all. The one that has to win with the AI revolution is humankind, is every one of us, not just a few.
Thank you. That's very important, and I want to elaborate on that a little bit, because sometimes you hear that the AI winter was there, and that was caused by something, and honestly speaking, I was there a few years ago, or a decade ago, selling AI products during winter, and you work with normal customers, you work with automation, you pursue normal, tangible goals, and I think that beyond the hype, there is still work to be done, and we are on a road towards it. But as time flies and we have very limited time, I want to ask you, what is one thing in the next 12 months that you are not thinking, but you are prioritizing in your work, in your field of work, to advance with trusted human-centric AI development? If any, because if there's none, be honest.
So I will answer with a really short story. So I was flying on a plane from Warsaw, and a young man, a young student, turns to me and says, "We've met somewhere in AI events." I said, "Yes, we have indeed met," and I recognize this young man, and I know that it's a very talented, smart young person who's leading the Olympiad, the Baltic region Olympiad winners from Latvia. He's taking them back to Latvia. And I said, "So, do you use AI? How do you use it? In what ways?" And he says, "Of course, everybody's using it, but you know what? Now we're looking at a trade-off. Quality versus speed." And this really stick to me, that I want the university, if as head of AI, I don't know, still the steps are clear in sense what we're doing, but I want to not make a compromise there. I want us to become faster, but through quality. So that's something that we're focusing on right now through education. Education for students, education for employees, and education for our leaders of Latvia who will be in AI. So understanding, but not making compromise on speed and quality. So let's see how it goes.
Thank you. Peter.
That's a good question. So on my research focus, I don't take this into consideration, and maybe I should. But on the education side of things, where I teach at New York University, there is a big question of like all these tools that are being used. So I'm like teaching coding classes, and I was quite lucky because I learned to code before COVID, where there were less tools, so you had to learn really to code from scratch. And here it's about like the trade-off of how much students should learn, how should they learn it, and it's a very difficult challenge, so a lot of questions there. And to go one step forward, right now we have in the US 7 million people with Alzheimer. In the next decade, it will double. So one of the causes, and it's not the main one, it's memory. And so if the next generation doesn't learn to think, it's just relying on AI, that's going to be complicated, I think, for the future. So we need to discuss about it and think about it, but no solution on my side. Pablo.
What is the one?
The wish list.
one activity that you are prioritizing in your work regarding AI? Is there?
Education, especially for young people. I think AI will offer tremendous opportunities. We are just moving the veil a little bit. But there is an imperative need to educate, especially young generations and teachers, to explain the young generations what is it and what is it not. I'm trying to do my best at CERN in the facility of Idea Square to share visions of technology and so on with more than 1,000 students that we host per year coming from different countries, many of them from Latvia. And I'm seeing some things that are worrying. We put in front of them challenging projects, and then we see that they blindly rely on the answers that this new AI is providing with any capacity of a critical judgment of whether these ideas are well formulated, are even correct, because they take them as oracles. They are not oracles. They are fantastic tools if you know how to use them. But we need an enormous amount of education, especially also for teachers. They need to be able to explain to students what these tools are, what they have been programmed for, and what are the limitations. Because otherwise, I have witnessed discussions between master level students saying, my answer is better because I have the paid version of my bot instead of you, that you have the free version. And I was curious about the answer, and they were both wrong. So yeah, Socrates used to say that if a blind guy leads some other blind guys, all of them will fall in a hole. And I think we can avoid it.
I'll keep it short. The president, when he was giving his address here, he said he wishes that innovation wasn't just a checkbox in a document. And I thought that should be a mantra for everybody. That is definitely a mantra for our company. And I think that should be a mantra everywhere, even in the public sector. You know, we need to make, you know, as businesses, we need to make governments accountable for innovation being in the heart of everything.
For me, from the list I have, I would choose to set up the AI Innovation Fund for government public sector, and with the focus of matching the right problem with the right solution. So
that's extremely important. So thank you guys for such an amazing panel. I congratulate the audience that you got not 45 but 55 minutes of this content. And I would be happy to stick around with you guys for hours and hours. What I have learned today is that we are nearing the past hype cycle, and I hear that nothing is disappearing. We still have plans to pursue. We still are pursuing productivity, and we do that on a more self-cautious way, and that's the way to do it. And our country's potential strength stays in possibility of collaboration with other countries, thus driving some changes in the European Union. Thank you so much. I hope to see you once again on this stage somewhere in the future. Thank you so much.
Round of applause to the panel and our excellent moderator. Thank you, Arvils.